What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the BamaInsider YouTube channel. It's time for the post-game show. A victory for Alabama. We're going to get into that. We're going to take your calls as well. 205-850-1994. I'm Mick Gillispie, and appreciate all you guys hanging out. Chris Daughtry in the home studio today, celebrating a 30-24 win for Alabama. And I got to tell you, you've always got to appreciate the wins. And so we're going to get into that today. There was some good, there was some bad, there was definitely some ugly in this ball game. But I'll tell you what, in a hostile environment, it was a good win. It was a great win for Alabama. And despite the fact that their playoff hopes are gone, they still represent it today and got the victory in a tough place. So I'm curious to hear what you guys thought about it. So we'll get into that on the show as well. Let me remind you that the post-game show here on the BamaInsider YouTube channel is brought to you by Westgate Luxury Condominiums, right there next to Bryant-Denny Stadium. We'll be there the next two games afterwards doing the show from the Skygate Club, which is on the rooftop. Next time you're coming to town, and I saw some of you guys in the comments section saying, hey, I'm coming to town and I'm staying at Westgate. I want to know what you think after you stay there, because I'm telling you, you're going to love the oversized balconies where you get the view of Tuscaloosa, the stadium, depending on which side of the building you're on. You're going to love the Skygate Club. It's like the zone in Bryant-Denny on the rooftop. Great place to tailgate, great place to hang out with the pool tables and the drink fountains and the lockers and the view and all that stuff. The kitchens are amazing in the units, 1 to 5 bedroom, 900 to 3,000 square feet. So, check those out. They bring you the post-game show each and every week. And as you hang out with us here on the BamaInsider YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. That's a great way of saying roll tide. And, as we do this, I just want to tell all you guys this right here. That's the sound of victory. Alabama with the big W today over Ole Miss. So, look, the victory, victory beverages for those that are of age are in order today for a 30-24 win against a really good 11th ranked Ole Miss team. So, look, I'm still not enamored. I'm going to give you my take before we go to the calls. First off, I'm not enamored with the offense. Sometimes I'm just puzzled. 9 minutes to go in the game, you got a 3-point lead, and instead of running the ball, you throw it. And then all of a sudden you get sacked, and then now you got to throw it more, and you give it back, and you lose momentum. The play calling to me was better today because they stuck with the run, and I think that was the difference. It started to look like Alabama football. They gave the defense a chance towards the end of the game. The defense was good. They're not great. This isn't an elite defense. This is a good defense. They made some plays. Brian Branch, the great play at the end of the game. Will Anderson Jr., looked like he was banged up a little bit, but he had a sack in the game. There were some big plays by the defense. They got gashed a lot too. I thought Lane Kiffin's offense was very creative, and particularly in the first half of the game. And Alabama did a nice job of hanging in there in a hostile environment. The offensive line, slow start, picked up steam. They did a good job at the end of the game. Not elite, but good. They didn't jump off sides. I thought that was a big thing today. And we saw Kendrick Law. Hey, let's get him in the game. Let's see these freshmen, man. What can they do? Because at some point, you got to let somebody else get in the game. He had 3 catches for 26 yards. I thought he had a big game. I figured that Jermaine Burton was going to look like the guy that we saw today. 5 catches, 50 yards, had a touchdown, some tough runs. He played a good game. Ja'Cory Brooks, 4 for 61. He had a touchdown. There's still no elite receiver on this roster. We got guys that would be good complements. It's definitely something that's killing Alabama, or it has at times this season. But today it was enough because they had the run game going. They were able to run the ball. And what was surprising is it wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs. He hardly played. It just didn't look right with it when he was out there. Jace McClellan came in, 19 attempts, 84 yards, pounding the football. I would have liked to have seen more. Roydell Williams, only 2 carries for 13 yards. I think they got to get him into the game plan more. I would love to see more of him. And, it just still doesn't feel like Alabama football. And as Nick Saban once famously said, and I'm going to steal this from Reagan from the Tailgate Show, he said, I miss when we used to make their asses quit. We don't do that anymore. These are all slugfest, come down to the wire type games. Alabama just made the big plays at the end of the game to save themselves from another dramatic loss and also another field storming and everything else. So that's kind of where I'm at. Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. And in the comments section, JB, Roll Tide, man, I'm with you. Donald, hey, it was the best game we played in a month. You're exactly right. Regina, McClellan, a beast. Yes, he was. I mean, it was great to see. Finally, there was one carry in the game where Alabama needed something. Somebody had to step up and say, hey, this is Alabama football. And it was McClellan and that 10-yard run where they looked like they had him and he just would not go down. That changed the momentum of this football game. Roll Tide to you, Chrissy. Novel J Speed. Chase carried Ole Miss up and down the field on his back, literally. I agree with you. Deborah, Roll Tide. Jarvis, always great to see you. Great win. All the wins are important, man. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we're learning about this season is that as a fan base, as a program, we have got to appreciate what we got a little bit more. And I think we're going to bring a lot of passion in these next two games. We lost to two of our rivals this year. We haven't lost to three of our rivals in the same season in a long, 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 long time. And I hope that does not happen because there is a very big game at the end of the year that means a whole hell of a lot, and that's the Iron Bowl. And I don't care what Auburn's record is, they're going to bring it, and we need to be ready to go. And I hope it's not a one-possession game. But, losing to Tennessee and LSU, that game becomes super, super important. But I'm going to take your calls. Again, Brock, thank you guys. Hit it up in the comments section. And let's hear what everyone's got to say going to the phone lines now. And basically, let's do this. Give the take so I can get a lot of people on. We'll listen. We'll hang up. We'll chew on it. We'll go to the next call. So let's hit the phones. And who's this and where are you calling from?
Good evening, Mick. Kevin, Dallas, Georgia.
Hey,
how you doing?
Well, first off, Chris, it can attest to this, Kevin. I said today, where the hell have you been? I just told him I missed hearing from you.
I'm going to be honest with you. Full disclosure, Mick, I had no intention on watching another Alabama game for the remainder of the season. I wasn't going to call in. I wasn't going to even listen to Bone until December recruiting period as well as February. But the thing is, hey, home is home. And the thing is, I had to today, but I'm going to be honest with you. Hey, Mick, I appreciate the W, but the one thing I just have to ask, and it's just as far as for whomever, and that is, if I came to your house over in Fairhope, if you came to my house in Mobile, Mick, you have a variety of beverages to consume. But what would be the point of having all the variety of beverages that you have in storage and the same as far as at my home, and we only drink water?
I know exactly what you're saying.
That's what we've been doing for the whole season.
Thank you.
That's what we've been doing for the whole season as far as, is Bill O'Brien trying to hold something for the next job so they can say, oh, I can do this? Aren't you auditioning now as far as for your, quote, future job or present job? But that is, and the thing is, just to piggyback something you said, Mick, and that is, I hope that the fans will, hey, just enjoy these past 2 years, as in with Will Anderson Jr., as well as with Bryce Young. Because the one thing I will say with the ski mask and with whatever arms that he had, as far as Bill O'Brien, need to be ashamed of himself. Because, hey, he stole money this year. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to just say he stole money this year. He stole money last year. I pray that, and I don't like to use faith in a conversation, but I pray that this is his last year. And if it's not his last year willingly, I hope that Nick would say, hey, if I want to win another national championship, he cannot be the OC. And as far as the DC is concerned, hey, the biggest excuse over the past few years, Mick, was, okay, Golden don't have all the tools in the toolbox. He has had all the tools in the toolbox for the past 2 years. and you have to put people in a position to make plays. It can't just be a matter of you doing the same thing because, hey, that's what you want to do. It has to be something that's gonna get the W. Football, boys and girls, for those that don't know, is a collision sport. Basketball is a contact sport. And I will look forward to the day in which number 10, as well as a few other guys on the defense, to realize the fact that, hey, it's not church football. It's a matter of, hey, what did the late Al Davis say? Hit the man hard, put them down hard, and that's what we have to get to. I mean, we have to have, Mick, 5 guys that are a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on the team. Not 35, but just 5. And that's what we had on those national championship teams. And that's something that we are sorely lacking now. It was my intention as far as the call last week, Mick. I just couldn't get on, but I enjoyed the content. And I will, as far as reach out as far as next week, I'll be back in God's country as far as next weekend, as far as for the Thanksgiving break. And, hey, appreciate all that y'all do and continue to do. Take care and continue to be blessed, man.
Hey, great call. All-American caller, my friend, and it's great to hear your voice again. Thank you.
Same here. Thanks, Nick.
Hey, look, and I want to say this before I go to the next call. First off, I agree. And I think Bill O'Brien's a good coach. He's just not creative enough in this day and age with this type of offense. Probably be better suited for the NFL. And not in college. And I agree. I mean, I'm not saying that he stole money, but I know exactly what Kevin was kind of throwing out there. We got all this other stuff, and it's like we're doing this. I think we all feel frustrated by the lack of creativity that this offense has shown. And also, some of the times when we need to be running the football, we're passing. And today they stuck with the run early, and I think that's why they won this football game. But a great call, always good to hear from Kevin in Dallas, Georgia, and one of my favorite callers out there. Yeah, and Chris reminded me. I told him Chris is doing the Nick Saban press conference. We're going to have that on the BamaInsider YouTube channel as he's in the studio right now. But I just said today, I said, some of you guys, I love hearing what you think about the games. Because, guys like Kevin, Jarvis, I mean, there's just guys who bring it and understand the game. And when you sit there and watch it, I get it. You spent your whole life as a coordinator, as a head coach, and this and that. And sometimes it's so obvious to us. It's like, hey, if you got 2 yards, but you ran the ball and you didn't give up a sack in a spot where you're just as much trying to just continue to beat their line down and put yourself in manageable spots, it's a win, right? It's a win on that particular play, and it gets frustrating sometimes. So I get that. All right, let's go back to the calls again. Alabama, a winner today in Oxford against the Rebels. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
This is Kendall calling from Mobile.
What's up, Kendall?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Anyways, I was calling to say this win tonight, I don't know if it's just me, but it actually felt like we played better as a whole team. And I'm not going to lie, I wish we could see Sarkisian or Lane Kiffin or Mike Loxley with Jahmyr Gibbs as a running back. But sometimes I don't understand Pete Golden's play calling either. He's so iffy. Like, late in the fourth quarter when we need a stop, it's hard to get a stop with him. But second and third quarter, we might be playing lights out. I don't get it. And he don't adjust very well either. And Bill O'Brien, I agree with you. I think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's suited for coaching college kids. He might be better like he was with Brady, somebody who's got experience. But it's mind-blowing to me that Alabama almost won the championship with them 2 guys, the ones calling the shots.
Well, it shows you how much talent they have.
Yes, I agree. Bryce Young, I think a lot of people have not really appreciated what he's done for Alabama and been for us the past 2 years. Without him, Jameson Williams, and John Mechie last year, I don't believe they'd even hung 20 on Georgia in the SEC championship game. You see what Jalen Milroe he is as a quarterback. Don't get me wrong; he's a great guy and he's a great competitor. And and I think he'd be better suited as more of a running back, receiver, or something like that. You just got it makes you wonder, would we have even won 8 games last year if we wouldn't have had them guys?
It doesn't feel like it. But I get the feeling that what you meant by a team win today was there just came that point in this game where we just started to play. We started to look like Alabama again.
Yeah, like we didn't look like the dominant Alabama because if the 2016 Alabama played this Alabama team, they dog walk them. But this team, it felt like they finally played with heart. And I guess the play on the field is kind of reflecting the coordinators because it feels like the players don't feel comfortable and they're not really confident and they don't trust each other. Imagine if Lane Kiffin had this offense.
Oh, I know.
Kirby Smart. They go 15-0 and probably beat everybody by 30.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I agree. Look, Lane Kiffin won the SEC with Blake Sims at quarterback. That to me was the most incredible offensive coaching that Alabama's had since Nick Saban's been the head coach. I mean, if there was the transfer portal, Blake Sims would have never been a quarterback for Alabama. You know, like it just kind of fell like that. But Lane Kiffin found a way to make it work. You know, it was unbelievable to me. So yeah, I mean, like Alabama's got to find somebody that's able to be creative with the talent that they have. No doubt about it. I can't imagine a scenario where they don't go a different direction in different areas with the offensive play calling and coordinators.
I mean, Joe Brady's on the open market.
I'll take him.
I'm curious what they.
I would take him. I would take him right now.
Yeah, because you've seen in 2020, Steve Sarkisian kind of pulled from Joe Brady's playbook. Even though he wasn't listed as a coordinator, you knew the plays ran through him. And you've seen the crossing routes and the designs that Sarkisian came up with for Devontae Smith. I've never, in any game I've watched, seen one receiver get focused on by an entire defense, and they could have stopped him. He hung 200 yards in the first half with 3 touchdowns.
I know. Yep. No doubt about it. Well, great call, Kendall. Anything else before we go to another caller?
No, that's it. Have a blessed night and roll tide.
Hey, roll tide, man. Thank you. Great call. Appreciate you. Hey, and guys, as you hang out with us, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the thumbs up. It's the Bama Insider postgame show, part of On 3. I'm Mick Gillispie. Great to talk to you guys tonight about the game. And I just want to hear from so many of you guys. So I'm trying to make it a little shorter tonight on the call so we can get to more of you and hear about your thoughts on this game today. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hey, roll tide, Demetrius from North Carolina.
Demetrius, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? Roll tide.
I finally got my head out the ground like an ostrich there from last week. You know, I still got to keep my old buddy Jack Daniels handy whenever Bill O'Brien, whenever Alabama go on offense. It's just, I mean, shout out to the young men. You know, I never criticized them. Because I've had family members that played D1 football, and it's harsh. It's real bad when you to hear somebody criticize you. So I'm not. But these coordinators, I'm just. It's like 1 minute. Oh, here it is, and then oh Lord, it's a letdown. I mean, come on, man. But you know. I seen it after the when they played Texas A&M. I had said it. I don't believe it's it for them this year. And you know, another caller had said he don't know what I'm talking about. You know, we just ain't seen that. You know, that fire from an Alabama team in this team. Like past teams,
right.
We ain't seen it all year long. It's just been missing. But you know. I will piggyback on the last caller. You know, appreciate Bryce Young because, it's a shame that, you know, he got to go out like this. And I have no doubt in my mind that Jameer Gill is supposed to be the Heisman Trophy winner this year if he had a proper coordinator. Just got to pack it up and pray for next year, you know, and get this ball rolling and roll tide and Hey, I drive a truck if I take a vacation and to help Coach O'Brien. If he needs to pack his stuff up, I drive him wherever he
You'll
wants
drive
to come.
if he needs help packing and moving, you'll do that for him, huh, Demetrius?
I hire a package service. Don't even worry about it, Bill. I got you.
Hey, you mentioned Jameer. Roll Tide, man. Great call. Always great to hear from Demetrius up there in North Carolina driving that truck. Hey, and he brought up Jahmyr Gibbs. The reason why Jahmyr Gibbs was out of the game was that he twisted his ankle. Nick Saban said that in the post-game press conference. So that was the situation there. And look, I felt the same way, man. It wasn't dominant Alabama. It wasn't make their ass quit Alabama, but it was an Alabama team today that when they had to make the plays, they got it done. They got after the quarterback, the secondary. The other thing, too, and I mean, after the Tennessee game, I think you have to say it every week, is that the officiating was fair. It was down the middle. Some calls went our way, some didn't. It didn't feel like there was money on the game for the guys that were in stripes. So I give them credit for that. Even last week, I said that after the game last week, Alabama didn't lose because of the officiating like the Tennessee game. I mean, it was just a loss. But another tight game, another game on the road that came down to the end. But, these are good, really good quality teams in Ole Miss and LSU. And this is the toughest road schedule that I think Alabama's played since I've been hanging out with them. All right, who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, Mick, how you doing? This is Brandon from D.C., man.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing, Brandon?
Hey, doing pretty good, man. Roll Tide first off and foremost. And really what I want to get off my chest, man, is it's a shame we're going to lose Bryce Young and Will Anderson. A soft part of me, man, all I want for Christmas is for those two guys to come back. I know it's probably unlikely just because, again, the position they're going in, man, but just the competitor in those guys, man, not giving up. I'm almost praying they come back, but they have to have massive changes. I agree with the previous caller before, man, talking about Joe Brady would be a great pickup. But honestly, man, they need to get some a-holes in there, man. On defense, D'Amico Ryans, I don't know why he wasn't pulled back in. I know they ended up sticking with Pete Golden, man, but they need some guys that have the idea of the Bama standard, but really having some guys understanding exactly how to push the right buttons. And look, Henry To'oTo'o, man, I think he's a skilled player. He's not a tough guy, right? And you saw it on the goal line, man. What's the running number 4 running it in Wildcat, and they meet in the hole, and he just barely touches him, man, and he just walks in. You know what's coming. Linebackers of old, man, they would have nailed him to the goal.
We said the same thing here
and
tonight.
So,
we said the same thing here tonight.
Oh,
exactly
man.
the same
Mick,
thing.
Oh, my gosh.
Exactly the same
so many
thing.
times, man. I think Lawson has some of that in him, a little a-hole in him, man. Like I was like, To'oTo'o is a nice guy, man. Like he's too nice, right? And so they need to go back to the basics. And if you had a D'Amico Ryan in there as a defensive coordinator, rest assured, man. Look, they would say, hey, To'oTo'o, man, we get you in there on some pass defense. But when it's goal line time, man, you got to have some tough dudes in there that are willing to smack somebody in the face. And I saw Dallas Turner had a little bit of that in today, man. Like just kind of just get irritated, right? And so we just have too many nice guys on the field on defense, and that's the only issue I have. But it was a great sight for the offensive line, man. Emil Ekiyor laid a guy out. We just need to see more of that,
pancake?
Right? And
I know. We were yelling at the TV.
Oh, my gosh. Beautiful. On the pool? Oh, my gosh, man. And so, the talent is there. I love the team's fight, man. They're not giving up. They could have just mailed it in once they saw LSU won the game. But like you said, man, we got a big one coming up in 2 weeks. Auburn, man, that's the game of the game, and we got to get in there. We got to make sure we're not taking them for granted, man, because, again, they got to run a quarterback that can maybe possibly put some points on us, but it should be a blowout, man. But you already know they play us tough every year regardless of the record. So, hey, Roll Tide, man, I love what y'all do, man, and keep it up. And, look, we're going to get them. We just got to finish off strong.
Yeah. Well, look, before you get off, I do want to just kind of go back to something you said. I think you're exactly right on bringing back D'Amico Ryans. I mean, or someone like that. D'Amico would be the perfect guy. Alabama's got to find their identity again. And it's not Bill O'Brien, and honestly, it's not Pete Golding, and it's guys like D'Amico Ryan. It's got the Alabama standard is missing right now. It's obvious, I've been critical
Completely agree.
Of Greg McElroy, from time to time, some of the stuff he says on his shows.
Yep.
But you know what? I got to give the guy a lot of credit because
I agree.
Did you see it? What his discussion about Alabama, and he was talking about the Alabama standard, and he said,
he was spot on.
Yeah, and he was talking about the things that this program was built on. Forget about the wins and losses. It's the discipline and the effort and this and that. And he's like, and I'm like, first off, for him to kind of step on that ledge and say that, being an Alabama quarterback and criticizing a Nick Saban who comes on, would come on his shows and obviously loves the guy. I mean, he won him a national championship. Takes that's putting yourself out there. But what he said is exactly what Nick Saban needs to read, and he needs to figure out who he can bring that is going to understand what the Alabama standard is, because barely scratching by against Texas A&M's and Ole Miss, and losing on the last play of the game to Tennessee and LSU. That's not Alabama standard
at all. And Mick, look, we all know. Look, Nick Saban's in the phase of his life where he's the Don Dada, right? He's the boss, but every boss has an enforcer, right? Kirby Smart is an enforcer. You got to have somebody that, look, he just gives him the eye, right? Looks at him, and he's just going in and just slapping somebody upside the head, right? Like, he needs someone to enforce it, man. He's getting a little up there in age, but I don't know if you saw the clip when they were both back at LSU and they were yelling at this dude coming off the field. It was him and Muschamp.
Yeah.
And they're just drilling into this guy, right? Like, he needs someone with that type of intensity and energy that can be the enforcer, because I just feel like he's a little bit older now, man. He's mellowed out, and, he's like, hey, this is a new generation. You see the guys in Georgia, man, if they mess up, Kirby's on them.
Yeah.
You're not getting to the sideline without him getting on you.
No,
and you just have everybody's accountable, man. So I couldn't agree with him more, man. McElroy, he stuck his neck out there. I honestly almost felt like they kind of pulled him back, but I think that might be overreaching, but you never know.
Yeah, well, that's one of the first times that I've heard him say something and been like, "Whoa, actually, that's 100% right." A lot of times I'm like, I don't agree with that, but you know what? I mean,
that guy just talks sometimes.
Yeah, but he nailed it that
a little
time.
Bitter.
Yeah. Hey, great call, man.
Absolutely, big.
We'll talk to you next week.
Roll Tide, man.
Roll Tide. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines again as we hang out with you on the Bama Insider YouTube channel, talking Alabama and Ole Miss. A come from behind victory on the road, 30-24. Hey, I appreciate the wins, and I'm not going to stop appreciating the wins. I think that's one of the things that we've got to get into with where things are with the program now, because I think we took all these wins for granted. It's the toughest conference in football, and you play these huge games every week, and another big one today. All right, let's go back to the phone lines again and talk about this Alabama win over Ole Miss. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is William. How you doing, brother?
What's up, William? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Virginia. So, hey, roll tide to the Bama Nation. Hey, I totally agree. I don't know why we don't have D'Amico Ryans for our coordinator, but I'm going to go another step further. Whatever we need to pay Coach Cochran to come back, we need to pay him.
You want him back?
He needs to come back. He was the soul. He was the crazy. He was the calm before the storm. He was everything that we need, and we need a middle linebacker. I'm going to just leave it there. I ain't going to call out no names. I appreciate your show. It was a good win. I saw some hard hits out there, but we got to get back to just having those dogs out there. And I'm sorry, our coordinators should know the players. They should know the skill set, and they should put them in the best place to excel. When you look at Travis Kelce, he's not the fastest guy, but I'll tell you what, Andy Reid puts him in spots to catch that ball. And I just see a lot of our receivers totally covered, not in good spots to catch the ball. And we just got to do better. The Bama standard isn't mediocrity, and mediocrity kills you. If you ain't growing, you dying. And it's just like we kind of just settling. We got to keep growing. We got to keep pushing the pile. Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide, great call, man. Thank you so much. And hit us up after the game next week and the Iron Bowl after that. But look, I agree with the fact that the Alabama standard not met by these guys this year, and it starts with the coaches. And, whether it's Scott Cochran or D'Amico Ryans or somebody else out there, Jeremy Pruitt, once he's had all his trouble, It's time to bring people back that understand what this is all about, because it just doesn't feel that way. Now, I did think that the defense played well. I thought Pete Golden was fired up on the sideline. It was good to see. But there's so many different things that are different now from, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you don't want to see it slip. And I think that's a big part of it. But I also know that Nick Saban's going to make the decisions, the tough calls that are going to have to be made. And who would have thought that 2 years down the road with Bill O'Brien, a guy who had done a great job at Penn State, a guy who was a head coach in the NFL and got to the playoffs and had a very consistent offense and everything else, would be someone that at times you feel like it just doesn't fit with this college game so much, and I guess when you're going up against guys like Lane Kiffin and creative play callers and, Josh Heupel and that offense at Tennessee, and who knows who Auburn's going to get, but they're going to go out and they're going to pay whatever they have to pay to get the best coach they can get, and if it's a guy like Hugh Freeze, that's another one that you're going to have to deal with. Your offense has to lead things. That's the way that the college game is set up now for the offense to lead things. It's tougher to play defense. And, but when you watch that Georgia team play defense, you watch the way that they hit the field, it just feels like they've stolen Alabama's identity. And for the Crimson Tide, they've got to get back to that at some point, in my opinion. All right, let's go back to the phone lines again and continue to talk about this game. Win for Alabama over Ole Miss. They'll be back in the top 10, and they avoid losing for back-to-back games for the first time in forever. Who's this and where are you calling from?
It's Bill from University of Georgia.
What's up, Bill?
Well, I wanted to say I'm proud of this team. They did get a W. They played hard as they could play, and I'm gonna tell you, it really makes me feel good to see a W. But when you got a quarterback and you're thanking him, you're getting up, you don't push his head in the ground because they could have cost us another 15 yards.
And Bill, hold it right there. You got to hold it right there because I've got to say something. I pointed that out to Chris, our producer, when that happened. That is not Alabama football. That is not the way we do it. That's not the way we've ever done it. That's the crap that happened when Shula was coaching. Yeah, I didn't like that either.
And then we had them backed up. It was third and a long. It was like 18 yards or whatever. And then we get a face mask. I mean, that was awful. I just we had them beat.
Yeah, when he ripped the face mask off his head. I thought that was more of an accident.
Yeah, we took it off.
Yeah, but the pushing the guy's head down, the Jackson Dart's head into the ground by Dallas Turner, that to me is just not what we do. That's just not our identity. You know what? We just get up and go on to the next play. We score a touchdown and hand the ball to the official. And that's the way that this thing's been rolling since Bear Bryant was coaching.
Yeah, and this receiver, Jeremy Burton, sometimes I worry about him because sometimes I think he's going to cost us 15 yards the opposite direction because sometimes he does some things that really worries me. But I think we need to go and get a defensive coordinator that we've had in the past, Jeremy Pruitt. When Jeremy was there, he was much better than even Kirby Smart was. I think when Smart left and took over, Jeremy just did a better job. Our defense got better. And that's what I want to see happen is somebody like Jeremy Pruitt show up. I know he's at New York Giants, or somewhere up there. And I'd like to see him come back.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with you. I'd love to see him come back too. But
he was a beast for us.
He was great. Now the problem that he has is the same problem that Hugh Freeze has, is that they left programs with violations. Like Tennessee is dealing with violations because of decisions that he made as head coach, right? Same thing with Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze, right? So I don't know if they would allow those guys to come back. But if Hugh Freeze ends up at Auburn, if I'm Alabama, I'm bringing Jeremy Pruitt back home the next day. I'm going and getting him, and that's that.
One more thing is that our receivers just don't seem to get open. And I don't know why they can't do it. Every now and then they will. They're doing a great job. I just want to see those receivers get some Smitty and Riddle and all those guys. They always have them. And these guys just don't seem to do that.
Yeah, because they run terrible routes. I mean, watch them. The routes aren't crisp.
The coordinators?
Well, I don't know. It's the players. You know, I mean, at some point, I mean, you talk about Smitty, you know, how many extra hours did he spend perfecting routes? You know, like
Absolutely.
It was his hard work. You know, Amari Cooper, it was his hard work. Calvin Ridley, it was his hard work. You know, those guys went out there. They were route perfectionists. The team right now doesn't have that. You watch some of the routes that these guys run, and it's like, man, I mean, we were talking about one throw to the end zone today, and I'm like, I don't even know what that was on a play where Bryce is trying to throw the football out. I believe it was to Ja'Cory Brooks, if memory serves, but it's like, what are you doing, man? You know? So
that happened several times, it looked like.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that. The wide receivers are going to have to they're going to have to get better at running routes. Or what I think is going to happen is that you go to the transfer portal and you go and you net the 2 or 3 best wide receivers in the country, and then you add it with what you got, and I think that you fix all these problems. And they did that last year. But Harrell never plays, and Burton has been I think he's the biggest disappointment on the team. And that's that. You know, and then the other guys haven't helped out at all either. You know, so maybe some of the young guys will be good, but there's no, you know, I've heard that Lance Taylor said the other night on our show, he said, there's no alpha, and he's right. There's no alpha. If Alabama had an elite receiver, this team would have a chance to win the national championship again. They wouldn't have lost to Tennessee, even with that bogus BS officiating, and they wouldn't have lost last week in that game to LSU. And you're talking about being able to take the top off of the defense. We just don't have anybody that can get open even. And on top of that, when they don't give him enough time to even throw the deep ball. The Bryce Young's constantly running for his life, and he's so good at throwing the football when he gets outside of the pocket. So we could sit here and get into this all day, but thank you for your call, man.
Talk about it all day long.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. God bless you. You have a roll tide day, man.
You too, man. Roll tide. Let me get to this super chat, kind of on the same thing we were just talking about. Mick, where can we pull in a number 1 wide receiver? The wide receivers we have are talented, but no one has that dog mentality. Like I'm some of those guys are talented, but some of them just aren't. They're not talented enough to play at this level and be consistent, you know? I wonder sometimes, you know, when I look at the wide receivers and their lack of ability to separate themselves out on the football field and get open and make catches. And, you know, and if you're Bryce Young, you can't throw the ball to somebody in a 50-50 situation because they're not going to make the play, and he doesn't do that. No one's ever open deep. And the offensive line, as I said before, you know, he's got guys in his face a lot. So, you know, what do? I wonder how instrumental the scouting that Lane Kiffin and guys like him did that helped Alabama get to where they were, you know, with the 4 wide receivers. You know, Lane Kiffin played a big impact on that. You know, what was the guy's name? Judkins, the running back for Ole Miss. He's an Alabama guy. He was a 5A player in Alabama. No one in this state thought he was that good. Nick Saban even said this week he probably should be on Alabama's team. They should have known that. Lane Kiffin, and there's a lot of baggage that the guy carries, right, off the field. But when it comes to just doing the offensive side of football, he's as good as there is, man. And I think part of that is him having this ability to scout talent and go after that talent. And, you know, sometimes these recruiting services, they put 5-star on someone and, you know, or 4-star on someone or 3-star on someone, and we all buy into it. And maybe in high school they are, you know, and it's a tough job. I mean, look, we do that every day here, you know, trying to figure out who the best talent are in the country. But you've also got to decipher who that 5-star is and how they're going to fit your system as well. And I think that Lane Kiffin has this innate ability to target some of the best players in the country and then take those guys and figure out who of those guys is going to be able to be elite. And that's maybe an area where Alabama, even though they've got the best recruits in the country, could get better. Is just, and maybe that's why they're in this spot now. I don't know. But everybody has this blue chip label, but they're not performing out on the field. Now, the other thing could just be development, and that goes back to your coaching. Who are they not being developed? What happened to the wide receivers blocking for each other, where you could turn a little receiver screen pass into a touchdown. If it wasn't going to Smitty, he was blocking for Waddle, or he's blocking for whoever, where's that now? Clean blocking, getting the job done, but you don't see those like snatch catches anymore. I mean, it was amazing, up until this year. You throw it in someone's general vicinity, and I mean, they're going to leap up and catch it. It just isn't there right now. So the transfer portal has been used by Tennessee. It was used by Ole Miss to rebuild the entire roster. For Alabama, that may be something that they're really going to have to rely heavily on, because going into next year, they've got to find some experienced receivers that could be, at least have one guy like a Jamison Williams that maybe they just find somewhere else that comes in and makes a difference. Because I don't see it on this team. And who are you going to have better at the quarterback spot than the best quarterback that your program's ever had, and Bryce Young, and a Heisman Trophy winner? So that's my opinion. And thank you for the super chat, Brandon, man, Roll Tide, man, and to all you guys in the comments section for being part of our show tonight. Let's go back to the phone lines again and get to more of you guys. And make sure you like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up as you hang out with us on the Bama Insider YouTube channel after the win over Ole Miss tonight. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
It's James in Pensacola. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? Not too far from me. A little chilly and windy tonight, though.
Oh, I love it. We get 4 of these days a year, so soak it up.
You get to wear your long sleeves.
Hey, yeah, dig it out deep. Hey, I thought Nick Saban was hanging on to this defensive coordinator just to see if he could turn him into a Kirby Smart. That's kind of what I thought. I feel like he got tired of losing OCs and DCs, which is one reason why he's the greatest coach ever, because he's had to redo it. I won't, I'm for Jeremy Pruitt too. I won't go to that. We've talked about that quite a bit tonight. Tell me your thoughts on this guy, Garrett Riley. I've read an article that said he's one of the brightest young minds in the college game today. Do a couple of years at Alabama and then get a head coaching stint somewhere. Yeah,
I mean, look, that's what they're trying to figure out right now, what direction that they go. My biggest fear if you go to somebody young is that I feel like the issue for Alabama right now is that we've lost our identity. And I don't know, maybe it's offense or maybe it's defense, but I feel like you got to go back and get somebody who understands what our culture is, who understands what it means to wear that that uniform and jog out on the field, who also gets what it's like to be around the greatest football coach in college history, even better than the other greatest coach in football history, Bear Bryant, And I mean, you're talking about 2 colossal standards, right? I mean, to me, I just feel like that's what it's going to take for Alabama to kind of get back on track again. I could be wrong, but Nick Saban's always looking for those guys. And this is why I love this show, because I get to talk to people like you, and you're exactly right. I mean, we kind of felt like with Pete Golding that Alabama's losing coordinators all the time. He's going to kind of make this guy the next Jeremy Pruitt, and he's not Jeremy Pruitt. He's Pete Golding, and Pete Golding's a good coach, but Kirby Smart was perfect. He's a perfect defensive coordinator, and he's been a really good head coach. To me, it may be time to let Pete's had other opportunities. Maybe it might be time to find that next guy and move on from him. But you know what? Saban likes him. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Bill O'Brien will be gone. I just don't know about Pete. I really don't.
Yeah, he needs to. I think he needs to be gone. A lot of people don't see that there's a lot of perfect storm going on right now. Last week, I don't care who tells me what, Bryce was not healthy. He was not healthy last week at all. He looked better this week, but it's just not the same Bryce Young that we've been seeing. And when Kirby left, I was told that, you know, what people didn't see is what's going to hurt Alabama long term is who he took with him. And so earlier in the program, you said they've become Alabama. Well, you're dang straight they have, because he took quite a bit with him, and basically he's become, you know, a replica of everything he learned for however long he was there.
Right.
So the only reason why I'm saying Garrett Riley is listen, and I could be wrong on this because I've just been sitting here listening to you and thinking about this. Who's the last old 70-year-old coach who's won a championship?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, does it ever happen? But
I know.
Maybe Pete Carroll in the NFL is the other guy that's 70 and he still has it. But him and Nick are like, they're such anomalies, man. Yeah, I mean, they're such anomalies.
I know. I guess I'm just saying that's another reason why I'm thinking, you know, you might want to start reinventing the wheel, because up until 2 years ago, Nick was perfect at it because he had to. Every single season he was losing somebody.
Yeah.
And he reinvented the wheel. And right now he's just not doing it. At least it doesn't feel like it.
Well,
I like your show, man.
Hey, thanks, brother. Appreciate the call, man, from Pensacola. Roll Tide.
Got it.
Hey, good point, man. A lot of good points there. I don't know. Look, I'm not ready to throw Nick Saban on the scrap heap. I guess I'm just feeling like he's immortal, man. And I mean, you know, even though he's 71 years old, I just feel like he's still got it. But I think that going back, if it's possible, a guy like D'Amico Ryans or Jeremy Pruitt, or, you know, maybe a Will Muschamp, he's got to have somebody that brings that standard and that fire back. Alabama's not far off, guys. I mean, you're talking about right here. You know, like they lost 2 games on the last play of the game. With that said, today's game came down to the end. Texas A&M came down to the end. You know, last year's Iron Bowl came down to the end. You know, I mean, there's a lot of games that come down to the end. Texas came down to the end. So when Alabama was doing their thing, and when it was the Alabama standard, you know, like, they were crushing teams, and that gap has definitely gotten smaller, but that doesn't mean that it can't get bigger. It can. It's been this team's, and they did a better job of discipline today. They didn't have all the bad penalties, the jumps, the off starts. But look, only 5 penalties. Thanks, Chris. The difference, though, is that Ole Miss Stadium isn't as loud as Tennessee, and it's not as loud as LSU. I mean, you're talking about, you know, 64,000 compared to 100 and some. So anyway, let's go back to the phone lines again. Let's try to get some more of these calls in, talking about the Alabama game and the win over Ole Miss. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hey, Mick, this is Adam calling from Georgia. How are you?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
All right. I just had a question. So, you know, my view on this is that, look, we lost 2 games on the road, but we lost each game by 1 play in front of 100,000 people in each game, and one of them in Tennessee on a ridiculous PI call in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
There's no way you can tell me. I mean, there's no way you can tell me that we're not better than Oregon, UCLA, USC, or TCU. I mean, Oregon lost 49-3.
I'd be favored against all of
Georgia.
them. We'd be favored against all of them by double digits.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And even Ohio State struggled against Northwestern. So my question to you is, like, look, if these teams had our schedule, they'd probably have 3, 4, maybe 5 losses. So why isn't Alabama still in the playoff conversation, given these facts?
Look, this is the toughest. I don't know how many times I've said this. This is the toughest schedule that Alabama's had in my 30 years of being around the team. I don't ever remember a schedule where they played this, you know, ranked teams, all of them in environments that were crazy. Today probably was the least of the 5, and it was a great environment. You know, this is an NFL type schedule. And in the NFL, if you go 3-2 on the road and you win all your home games, you've had a great season. The problem is that it's college and, it doesn't work that way. The schedule definitely this year fell against Alabama. If this was, if they had the college football playoff, we wouldn't be talking about this. I think Alabama would be close to being in. I don't really even know how all of that works, but I would guess that they would be kind of a team that would get in. Because you're right. I mean, look, they'd be favored against everyone that you mentioned. I mean, would they be, Max Hacksaw Duggan of TCU? Love that guy, right? But I mean, like, and as fun as that guy is to watch play football, Bama would be like a 14-point favorite over them. Probably still come down to the end if it was on the road, but they'd be like a 14-point favorite. And, like these games would all come down to Alabama being, I don't know, anywhere from a 7 to a 14-point favorite. You're right. But the problem is that it just doesn't work like that. It's not fair and balanced in college, like in the NFL. Everybody's playing everybody. They try to really look, your division's going to play the other division. You may be home or road, but you're still going to play, the other division. And then the teams in your division, you get to play them twice, once at home, once on the road. They try to make it as balanced as possible. Alabama's schedule is the opposite of balanced. It's been unbalanced. It's been difficult. It's been grueling. And it cost them this year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I still think, though, we're one of the top 4 in the country, even though we haven't performed to our standard. But I appreciate your response, man. Thanks so much.
Hey, Roll Tide, man. Thank you for calling in.
Roll Tide.
Have a great night. All right, let's go back to the phone lines again. And I see you guys are popping up there. And again, like and subscribe, hit the thumbs up as we hang out here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel and talk about Alabama's win over Ole Miss. I'm Mick Gillispie with Chris Daughtry. Who's this and where you calling from?
This is David from Louisiana over here.
You got your spirits are down a little bit, David, but you got to lift your head up, man. You're still hurting from last week's game.
Yeah, I didn't even call in last week. I was so depressed. I was depressed for, 7 days, something like that, until tonight, till we pulled one out.
I got to tell you something.
By the grace of God, I feel like.
David, I don't want to throw Chris under the bus, but yesterday at the Floor Bama, we were doing our show, and he was being heckled while I was on the air, so I didn't get to hear it, by some LSU fans, which is something that you probably have heard a lot of. I've had a few of them text me and email me and stuff. And so anyway, then last night he ran into him at one of the other places he went to after the show and hung out with him. So shame on him, right?
Yep.
He calls them fun people. I'm still hurt, man.
I don't like LSU fans at all. I don't. I really, really don't. Even my family that are LSU fans, I don't even like them. But anyways,
we got to teach this kid a lesson.
It was a good game tonight. Yeah, got to teach him a lesson. I'm the oldest in the family out of my siblings. So I might have to put some knots on some heads.
That's right.
But I ain't got to worry about that because Georgia's gonna throttle LSU.
It hurts that we got them in, doesn't it? It hurts that we got them
by a little old Arkansas today.
I know.
So and I think Jimbo Fisher might have something for him here in a couple of weeks. I mean, I told him earlier today. I said, when LSU has a good season, and then they end up playing Arkansas or LSU or A&M, they, them two teams usually give them a fight, and sometimes they beat them. But as far as everybody, I hear everybody talking about Pete Golding and O'Brien and everything like that. I mean, I look at it totally different. And I'm not knocking our players, but they just don't have the dog in them like they had a couple of years ago. It's just the mentality of these players, especially like offensively, they can be wide open and the ball hit them right in the numbers and they drop a ball. It just, and everybody wants to point the blame at Golding and O'Brien whenever these players, these receivers, they can't get no separation. DBs are getting pass interference calls. It's not O'Brien and Golding's fault completely. They're not on the field playing, I mean, and a lot of these guys are young. You know, we do have some young players on this team, but until we can get till these players can get back to that state of mind and have that Alabama standard like it used to be, it's going to be tough for a little while. But you know, even if, I think I told somebody earlier today, I said if we had Lane Kiffin's playbook and used his plays, the outcome would have probably still been the same. You know, I mean, Gibbs, he couldn't get running tonight for nothing.
He twisted his ankle. That was why he was out.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I didn't know. No, I didn't hear nobody say anything about that.
Yeah, Nick said it in the post-game press conference.
Yeah.
But I mean, like not having him, I mean, think about that.
The offensive line wasn't blocking too good.
No.
You know, the offensive line wasn't blocking too good because he was taking some hits, you know, I mean, and running around for his life in the backfield back there. And I mean, until I don't know who we could get as another offensive or defensive coordinator that could even compare to the ones we had in the past, you know. I mean, maybe we should bring back some of the old school players that were like Jay. Bring him back. Put him as an OC or a quarterback coach or
I'd love to see
whatever. Bring some of these, bring some of these old dogs back in that still has that pit bull mentality about it and knows what the Alabama standard is, and drill it in these guys' heads because they're. And I mean, you know, I do feel like some of it is the NIL. You know, I mean, they're like, well, you know, I'm almost making more than the offensive coordinator is. You know, I mean, some of these guys are making big money.
Yeah.
You know, I don't make it to the NFL. I still got millions of dollars sitting in the bank. You know, it's because before NIL, there was a totally different Alabama football. It was totally different all across the board. But it just seems to me like Kirby Smart's got something going on over there at Georgia, where he's got these boys lined out. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The SEC East is always weak. They're weak. I mean, you can take probably the top tier high school program in the country and play some of these SEC teams in the East and beat them. You know,
like Vanderbilt. How about Vanderbilt winning a game today?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to throw a parade in Nashville.
That blew my mind. I was like, that blew my mind. They beat UK. I mean, that blew my mind.
That shows you, like, Kentucky's not good. They're no good. You know, typically. I mean, Kentucky's been better, but Missouri's no good. We don't really have that in the West. They can say what they want about Texas A&M, but Texas A&M has talent. They've had a bad year. You know, Georgia and Tennessee are really good, and besides that, there's a big cliff that they fall off. You know, this division, like you said, year in and year out, is really good. You know, I'll tell you what stings about losing to LSU last week is that I don't think they're that good. I think they're okay. But they beat Alabama.
They're going to get throttled by.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Georgia.
Look,
Georgia's going to throttle them.
They did, and the thing about, and I watched them play today, is that Brian Kelly, their head coach, is taking advantage of this. This is like the Mulligan season, you know, like you take over the program. It really doesn't matter what you do. So if you want to, you know, there was a play in the game, they go for it on fourth down, they get it, but then, and they're deep in their own territory, right? And then, there's a penalty. So they go back, like, then they fake a punt, and then there's a penalty, and then they had to really punt it, but they got both of them. They just had penalties, and it's like you wouldn't do that if you were in your fourth year and you recruited all these guys, and you know your contract, and you know there was like an expectation. But I give him credit for the fact that he's taking advantage of it. And the biggest criticism that I have about Alabama this year is that they have absolutely no creativity on offense, you know, and it's like
they don't.
That's to me why it's not that Bill O'Brien to me is a bad coach. It's just it doesn't fit with what we're doing in college, particularly in the SEC. You know, you could go throw him in the Big Ten and it would be fine, you know, but in this league, it's just so competitive. You've got to be creative. You've got to scheme guys open. You know, look, we want jet sweeps, and we there's just stuff that you look. some of those plays that Lane Kiffin ran in the first half of the football game, the halfback pass, and they're all lined up weird. Look, it didn't work. But the fact that they were creative, it just gives you one more thing to think about.
Exactly. It might put your defense on their heels,
Yeah.
Maybe they make a slip up, maybe a DB a bite and a receiver's going out,
Or maybe we have better players and it works. Right.
Yeah. I think, I didn't take nothing away from the defense tonight whatsoever, really. I mean, they've done a really good job on defense. Offensive line needs to get a little bit more involved. And, I mean, they're just as big as the defensive linemen.
Right.
Get in the trenches, knock heads, rock and roll, push them back 15 yards if you got to. Don't stop until they get to the end zone and the whistle blows or whatever you got to do. They got to do that. But I was happy that we won. Even if we would have lost, that'd have been just a little bit harder for LSU to get into the SEC championship. But I'm kind of glad they are, because they're fixing to find out what protege from Nick Saban's all about.
Yep,
right.
Right.
They're gonna throttle LSU. I mean, the LSU just doesn't have the players, I don't think, to
it's not going to be a game
offensively or defensively. It's not even going to be a close game. It's going to be really bad. It's going to be the most. But one of my buddies was saying that even if we beat if LSU did beat Georgia, that they would go into the national championship. I said, honestly, I don't see LSU going into the national, playing the playoffs, because I remember what was last year? Yeah. We beat Georgia in the SEC championship. That was a one loss. And then they ended up playing in the national championship with us, So
Yeah.
I don't see them putting a 2-loss, possibly a 3-loss
No.
LSU team, because I hope Jimbo Fisher beats them too.
LSU, listen, I'm going to make
That's how bad I hate LSU.
Yeah, look, I forgot. See, I forgot how loudmouth and obnoxious their fans are. Because
they are,
because we have whooped them so bad for so many years. They did have 2019 and they ran their mouths after that game. How many times did I play that clip of the moron coach that they had, talking about what he was going to do and all that stuff. And then, of course, they're paying him to stay at home now. The difference to me is that this is the first real coach that they've had. They've had two absolute dummies as head coaches and won championships. Brian Kelly's not a dummy. He's a good coach. So they're going to be good. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But Alabama can still win. I mean, it's not like Alabama's not going to compete with them, and it's just going to become a better rivalry again. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Another thing that crossed my mind, I remember when Tua played in the national championship game, and we put in a bunch of freshmen in the second half.
Yep. And they showed up.
That had that dog mentality too, that wanted to, show something and prove something. Why didn't he do that?
We saw Law in this game. We saw Law in this game. He's one of those freshmen.
We sure
3
did.
catches, and they were big catches too. And that sends a signal to everybody. Wait a second, man. Here's Kendrick Law out here making a catch. That means he's going, and that means we got to go.
Yep. They had to step it up. Then you seen Brooks, he stepped up, and Burton, he stepped up a little bit. And
because if he's playing, somebody's not playing, and they know that they could be next, and that's how it should be, But it's too late now. I mean, we got. Well, I shouldn't say it's too late. We got one more big game ahead of us. I mean, a big game. And I don't care what their record is. I don't care how bad they're burning up down there. I don't care how many losses they have. I want to see us crush them. I want to crush their little orange spirits in 2 weeks.
Yep, me too.
I will enjoy every minute of it. I may go inside the game. Normally I hang outside. I may go inside because you know what? I want to see it. Anytime I see us beat them is a good day. It's a great day.
Yep.
Roll Tide, my friend.
It's like, the past couple of times Alabama got beat fans rush the field and tearing down goalposts. We don't do that.
No,
we don't
man.
do that.
Been there, done that.
We don't do that. We have too much class. We're the classiest organization in the SEC, probably in the country. But anyways, with that being said, God bless Roll Tide. God bless America, and God bless everyone listening.
Hey, keep your head up,
I'll let
man.
y'all later.
Roll Tide, thanks for calling in. I was looking for you last week, and I knew that it was going to be tough on you down there in Louisiana. But you know what? LSU's in Atlanta against Georgia. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm going to do a couple more calls before we break it off for the night. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello? Yeah.
How's it going? Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Oh, this is London. I'm calling from Florida. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Man, that game was like nail biter today. Just like hoping the defense get a stop, or Bryce finishing it off. It was crazy.
It's one of those games where you high five at the end of it.
Yeah. My question was like, do you still think we have a chance of making the college football playoff?
Man, unfortunately, I don't think there's any chance. You know, they needed LSU to lose that game to Arkansas. KJ Jefferson got hurt again. And Arkansas, they waited too long to put in the guy that could throw the football at the end of the game, you know, their third string quarterback. The second string guy was a runner. He couldn't throw it. And then, you know, even though they only gave up 13 points, they only scored 10, and that was it. You know, LSU's in. I think the only way Alabama was going to make it was, you know, hey, we were going to have to kind of back into that SEC championship game, win that, and then, you know, and then all of a sudden 2 losses is good. But look, I don't know. I mean, the fact that the team is still in the top 10 and they've lost the 2 losses that they had were at the end of the game, you know, I don't think that they're totally out. I mean, maybe if everything fell in place, but I just don't think there's a taste in the people that put the college football playoff, you know, field out there's mouths for Alabama to get in with 2 losses. So, I mean, I just think we're out this year.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful because I'm like, yeah, we lost 2 games, but I'm like, bro, if we looking comparing our talent to the other teams, I'm like, we're better than other teams like the TCU. I feel in my head we're better than Michigan so it's like even though Michigan and Ohio State are undefeated, I still feel like we're better. But it's like they're undefeated and they have pretty solid schedule. Their schedule, we have the toughest schedule by far, but they still have a pretty strong schedule as well. So,
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, anything else before we get to our last caller of the night?
No, that's all, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, and Roll Tide, man. Good to hear your voice again. Yeah. Calling from down in Florida. All right, well, let's do one more call, and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. I want to go watch that Texas TCU game just so I can get an opinion on that one. That's kicked off now. But Alabama with a win today, 30-24 in Oxford against the Rebels. They improved to 8-2. The Rebels dropped to 8-2, and it's a really big win for the Crimson Tide, and they needed this. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Mario Gordon. I call from Alexandria, Louisiana.
What's going on?
What's going on? Do you think Bryce Young should come back for another year?
You know what? I'm glad that you asked me this because I told Chris during the game that he should come back. And I'm going to tell you why. And then you can tell me what you think. Mel Kiper put out his draft list, right? And he gave an explanation. Clint Lamb, who's our awesome team writer, you know, tweeted it out. And he was talking about, you know, Bryce Young's biggest problem is that he is a guy with a small frame. And in the NFL, those guys just get hurt, you know, even not that he's not tall enough because, you know, he's, 6 foot or whatever he is, but it's that he's just got a thin frame. He weighs like 175, 180 pounds. I think that for him as an NFL quarterback, it would benefit him to come back and spend the entire year just getting bigger and stronger. I mean, like really putting on weight, you know? I would love to see him do that. Now, he's not going to do that because he'll get drafted way too high and make too much money, but I think he should come back.
That's why I think he should come back for another year. Yep. Yeah, that's my question.
Well, great question, man. Thank you for calling in. What did you think about tonight's game?
I'm glad we got the win, but I wish we would make it to the SEC championship game. That's all right though. What bowl game do you think we should play in?
Yeah, we talked about this tonight too. I would like to see us in the Sugar Bowl, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's even possible, but maybe if Tennessee and Georgia are both in the college football playoff, then we slide into the Sugar Bowl. I would like to see us at the Sugar Bowl. You know, I know that we've had this bad luck in those games when we're out of the playoff race, but for me, it's a short drive. I love New Orleans. It's a historically big game for the SEC. I would love to see us there. The other one is I love the Rose Bowl. I don't think we're going to get into that one. I mean, I just don't think that'll happen. And I guess if it's not one of those two, I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't in the Citrus Bowl. Well, hey, thanks for calling, man, and roll tide.
Roll tide.
Great questions.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Great questions. And to all of you guys for calling in tonight, man. I really, really appreciate it. What a night, you know? I mean, screaming at the TV, shaking my head a lot like this, telling Chris, I can't believe we're throwing the ball. Well, we should be running the ball right now, you know. Watching everything that went bad, watching everything that went good. The only good thing about the fact that Alabama is kind of having so much trouble on the road is that all 5 of these games have been very, very good watching on television, you know, and this was the toughest road schedule that Alabama has. I don't think they'll have another schedule this tough on the road again. Because I got a feeling that it just won't I don't think it'll fall like it did. But all these teams are really talented, and they're tough places to play. When they played Arkansas, they were healthy. They had they had Jefferson was their quarterback still. They weren't playing the backup or the third string, you know. Tennessee got every single call that you could possibly give. I still just feel like that those officials, what they were doing in that game, still to me was shady. I'm still not happy with the way that game was officiated. And look, if they would have done their job the right way, Alabama would have won that football game, and we wouldn't be talking about, you know, not making the college football playoff. But that right there, the calls that were made in that game, particularly that pass interference, but there were a bunch of them, calls that were missed and calls that, you know, were overlooked and everything else. You know, they'd be 9-1 instead of 8-2. You know, and no one's going to convince me otherwise. And I know a lot of my friends are Tennessee people, and I don't mean it personally towards them, but I thought that officiating ruined this season. And the SEC ought to be ashamed about it. And they've actually cleaned it up. I mean, the last few games they've been normal, but that game wasn't normal. And that game's the one that, to me, that's the game that killed the season. It's not losing to LSU on a 2-point conversion in overtime. It's when you got Kool-Aid 30 yards downfield after an interception on a ball that was batted in the air on 4th down, and a guy on the other side of the field throws a penalty flag. That changed the entire season for this team. So, you know, whatever. All right, well, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to watch some of these football games tonight, figure out who Texas is, figure out who TCU is. I'm going to watch a little Georgia and Mississippi State. We're going to get back on Monday, and we're going to do Monday Night Quarterback. It'll be Chris and I. We'll also have hopefully Clint Lamb will be back. We'll have Joseph Hastings to talk some recruiting. We'll talk to the dean of Alabama and the BamaInsider, and that'd be Jimmy Stein, get his thoughts on this game. And then Tuesday, right here on the channel, we'll have Andrew Bone talking recruiting. We'll have all the Nick Saban press conferences. If you didn't see him tonight, we got that one loaded up for you. So make sure you swing on the channel. That's already up and ready to go. And we're going to have a great week. We're playing Austin P on Saturday. The tailgate show is going to be at Unique Bar. It's where the old Egan's was on the Strip in Tuscaloosa. We'll be recording that thing on 6 to 8 on Friday night. Swing by and yell Roll Tide at us. Tell us that you listen, watch the show. We love when we see you guys. Come by. We're going to have a great week. And it's almost like a bye week playing Austin P. We're going to crush them on Saturday at 11 a.m. We'll be back doing this show after the game at Westgate Luxury Condominium, which brings this show to you each week. And then we're going to go and get ready for the Iron Bowl and then see what happens, and see what happens. And unfortunately, it's going to be probably anticlimactic because of the 2 losses, including the one that was, absolutely horrendous at Tennessee. But that's just the way that it is. And, unfortunately, that's the way that this has gone. But tonight was a great win. Let's appreciate the team and what they've done and the fact that they picked up a dub tonight. Hey, guys, like and subscribe to the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up, man. We appreciate you so much for hanging out. Thank you guys for the super chats. Really goes a long way to, to kind of kick us a little extra for what we're doing. And I can't thank you enough for that. All the comments in the comment section, all the great calls as well. Right now is the time to get with Bama Insider on 3. For $10, you get an entire year. That's recruiting with Andrew Bone. That's recruiting with Joseph Hastings. That's team coverage with Clint Lamb. That's also getting to get on the message board with Jimmy Stein and have a lot of fun talking Alabama sports and recruiting and everything else, man. And it's going to be worth it. Look, $1 for 4 months, $10 for an entire year. Check it out. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. Special thanks to my man, Chris Daltrey, who's been in here producing tonight, and for the man that puts all this together, Kyle Henderson, and our entire On 3 crew. I'm Mick Gillispie. Hey, guys, final score tonight, Bama 30, Ole Miss 24. That means it's a great night for us. Roll Tide.